I'm going to do a video on my stop system. This is for my slide miter saw, and I came up with this a few years ago, but I completely redid it a month or two ago, maybe a little longer than that. I put a new fence down. I redid this. Pretty much the same setup as I had before. This stop system, it slides back and forth on this fence. It flips out of the way, which is kind of a nice feature. The reason I like to flip it out of the way is if I have this set locked in place at a certain dimensional length, and I'm cutting, say, repetitious or multiple lengths of a particular dimension, and then all of a sudden I want to cut something longer in between, I can just go like that, cut the longer piece, and go right back down to the original setting. It's very simple to build. I think what I'll do is, I think I'll focus on the fence, tell you how I built that, and what I made it out of. This is just PVC trim that you can buy at Home Depot, Lowe's. It's 1.5 by 3/4 thick piece of either PVC trim or AZAC trim. And this 8-foot long piece will cost you maybe around $7. Mine is PVC. I think it's a little cheaper than the AZAC, but by a little bit. And then in addition to that, I bought a angle aluminum 8-foot long, which is 1 inch legs. So it's 1 inch by 1 inch by a 1/16 thick. You don't really need a very heavy piece. So this is only about a 1/16 of an inch thickness on this. I put the fence down parallel, of course, with my saw. The way I did it, I had a straight edge that I positioned up against my aluminum miter saw fence and ran it right down. It got me a straight line parallel to my fence using a straight edge. The PVC fence right here is screwed down with I just used some drywall screws. But what I did first was I pre-drilled about every foot a hole the size of a 16 penny nail, just happened to be what I used. And then when I got my fence lined up with my straight edge, I had this all in place. I would put the 6 penny nail in the hole and then drive it in a little bit on down. And so this was all fixed nice and straight and in place and in position, being held with those 6 penny nails. Then after that, I came along and pulled each nail out and would put my drywall screw in. The reason I put the nails in first was that they also acted as a little prick punch to give me for the drywall screw to screw in that same exact location that the 6 penny nail was partially driven in. So I kind of used a 6 penny nail to hold it in place, plus give me a little bit of a prick punch, you might call it. And you don't have to countersink these with a countersink tool. These flatheads will really countersink themselves right into this material. This material has kind of got what they call a foam core to it. It's not like real solid. So they countersink right in nice and flat. Then I purchased a tape here from, I got it online. I couldn't find one locally that I could readily pick up. It reads from right to left, just the opposite of a regular tape measure. So if you order one, you might want to make sure that it's reading from right to left. If it's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot on down. It got that sticky, you peel off the back and it sticks right down. You can see that, of course, I had to start off with it, partially cut off due to the continuation of the fence on the miter saw, the miter saw. So that wasn't too hard to do. You can get a reference point anywhere along here. I happen to use 2 foot, peeled off a little bit of it and stuck it on the 2 foot mark, and then I just cut off down here what I didn't need and ran it on down the full 8 foot length. Of course, you don't have to make this fence full 8 foot. You can do whatever you want or even longer. My table will go out about 12 feet from the blade of my miter saw. So basically, if you get this fence positioned and screwed down parallel the way you want it, real nice, then after that you can deal with this aluminum angle. The one thing I wanted to mention though is this PVC material is, 3/4 thick. This piece here has that kind of a textured look, but you can get it nice and smooth on both sides, which I would recommend. But anyway, just to demonstrate, if you notice that drops right in, but the angle is actually 1 inch on the legs, a little less inside, but so to get that clearance, so it's not real floppy and loose, before I put the fence in place, I kind of like daddled out miter, did like a little rabbet, I guess, so that when this fence is screwed down, this angle, get my camera repositioned here a little bit, will fit under there, and you can adjust it to what you need. In this case here, I want it to adjust to this thickness. You can see there that I got plenty of relief there to give it that adjustability. So that's really easy to do. Just prepare that by taking like a saw kerf width, maybe like a 1/4 inch in, although don't have to be 1/4 inch. So like I said, if you can remember to get your fence prepared that way and screw it down, then after that you'll be able to bring that angle in to give you that spacing that you want. What I did was I glued my angle down, and what I would recommend if you're going to glue it, first of all, this is what I used, just some regular construction glue, PL Premium Loctite, and that's all that's holding my fence on, and boy, you can't move it at all. I put a bead under there, and then I brought my angle in, on top of the bead of glue. And if you want to space it off, keep in mind that a good way you could do it is, this is a piece of flashing material, very thin. You can just cut a piece off. You can do something like that, and then you can clamp it with whatever clamps you might have. And I would put like a few of these down through there, like every 16 inches maybe, or something like that, every foot if you want. And now you're going to have a little clearance in there when you pull this out. But you also need to have some downward pressure to set it in the glue. And so what I would recommend on that would be to pre-drill some holes in your angle before you ever put it in here, and just use some truss head screws to hold it down tight into the glue. And then when the glue sets, like the next day, you can pull all this stuff out, pull your screws out, sand off the little burr, and you'll be all set to go. So that's kind of how I did my fence. Get that all set up like that. Okay, on my locking stop, I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to get it in an angle here, where this is a pair of sheet metal locking pliers, and you can see the action on them, so that when this is on here, this acts sort of like a caliper on a brake, comes right in and, you know, grabs a hold of this, squeezes this here to this angle, and it really locks it in good. And the thing I like about it too is you can increase your tension really easy on this. So if you want, even though if you notice you're not getting a lot of tension, you can real quick get your extra tension on that. Pretty much use the same material here. This is the 1.5 by 3/4 PVC or AZAC. This is nothing more than a piece of 2x4, 3.5 by, just happen to use 6 inches. You can do what you want. I'm going to remove this just so I can kind of show you what I did on the 2x4 piece. I painted that so it keeps sticking when I try to take it off. But here's what I wanted to show you. I dadoed out the, should say rabbet, I guess. I rabbited out this to 7/8 by 7/8 on the table saw. I just ran it through a couple passes, set my blade height 7/8, my fence 7/8, and cut that out. Reason for the 7/8 is that it just gives you a little clearance here so that it's not rubbing on your tape, and a little clearance here which you have to set up when you screw it on, of course. I'll kind of give you a little demonstration of that. So what I did was screwed a regular door hinge right here, just centered these 2 holes onto that. I don't remember if I pre-drilled this. I don't even think you have to. It doesn't crack or split or anything. Whatever. I use a couple drywall screws. You can use whatever you really want. This piece here, what I did, oh, by the way, I give it a little relief rabbet here, and that's so that when the hinge is clamped down, it doesn't bind on this, when it's pivoting it up, it doesn't bind on the stationary, on the part that's not moving. Without that, I screwed it on, it works, but it like kind of makes it difficult to go back without being really free moving. So what I would do is when you get ready to put this on that, here's the best way to do it. Lock this down so that this is all the way over tight against the aluminum piece. Bring this in, but grab a something roughly like, this is a piece of wood, roughly an 1/8 inch thick. And it don't have to be absolute exactly an 1/8, but maybe somewhere around that thickness. That way when you bring this in, you know that's already over there. When you clamp it, that's already over there. So that when you screw this all down, you know that when you clamp this, it's not trying to bring this up against this. I found out if you do have it too close, that when you're moving this back and forth, it grabs and doesn't have as free of movement. So just seems to work out perfect with that 1/8 inch little spacer there. And then you can either pre-drill these to get you right on the money. I'm going to go right back in the same holes. I'm just using some short sheet rocks. And the reason I'm not going long, I'm away from that big rabbet, so I don't think it would matter if you go longer. I just happen to go short. It don't really want to go anywhere with them. Then pretty much done. If you notice, this slides back and forth really nice. It's not rolling on the tape. It's when you clamp it down, it's got a little clearance over there. I find that if you are moving this into position, it works so much better by doing this rather than like that. That you don't get as smooth as you could if you go way low here, you know, if you think about doing that. But sometimes you go like this, you know, and it's like flops around on it. But this looks really nice. Any way you look at it, it's not hard to do. And you can bring this right up to your, you know, 24, 30, 23, whatever. A lot of times if I'm going to cut something, say 36 inches long, and it's not critical, I'll go right off my tape. It's close enough for me to where, you know, I know I'm good. If it's real critical, then I'll set it and do a little touch off on my blade to double check and make sure that it's where I want it. And if not, you know, then I'll just, you know, give it a little fine tune job there. The locking pliers, I couldn't find them locally. I had to go online to get these. They call sheet metal vice grips or sheet metal locking pliers. They call them both, I guess. I drill my own holes through here. They don't come that way, just to attach it to this piece. And also, I don't know if you can see, I dated out a portion here to fit this part of the pliers so that there's no interference here. That's not critical, just as long as you get it so it's not, you know, going to drag on these screw heads or whatever. And it really works to my satisfaction, and you know, I really like it. It's simple. It's really quite easy to do, and I'm sure you could find ways to modify it or change the way you might, you know, construct it. So hopefully that's helpful to you. I happen to have a radial arm saw right in the same parallel position as the miter saw. I've had that Sears Craftsman's for, I would say, well, I'm pretty sure it's been over 35 years. I got my cup of coffee here too, by the way. What I did on this, though, just to give you an idea, I like this saw, actually. I still use it for cross-cutting. I use the miter saw mostly to be more accurate on my angles, and I use them both. I don't set the angles on this much anymore. It's up there where you read it off, and you can't go by that. You have to do a trial and error pretty much. I did attach a rope that goes back to a pulley, and then down over here to another pulley that raises a weight down there, and you probably can't see that. And the reason I did that was that I wanted this to be always going back to its home position if you were to let off, you know, and it won't creep out on you. You shove a piece of wood back here and the thing's sitting over here, it'll grab it. So I kind of like that little feature that I came up with. Well, hope you find this to be helpful if you should decide you want to build a stop mechanism for your either radial arm, miter saw, whatever. It's not, you know, nothing really spectacular, but it really functions well. And, you know, you can do it for under $40. The vice grip locking pliers, I think, run me about $20 on online, delivered, shipped and all. The rest of the stuff is pretty reasonable. Like I said, probably less than $40. Me, I've got all kinds of hinges laying around. I keep them pretty handy. They come in handy for all kinds of little gadgets you might want to make. So I got a box over there. I go digging in there whenever I need a hinge, T-hinge, or butt hinge, whatever. The flashing that I was talking about, if I can, you can cut little pieces off some flashing by nothing more than a razor utility knife. You make a couple passes like that, and they snap right off if you want to use something like that for spacers. This happens to be what they call step flashing, and I had some around, so you know that you can use anything thin, maybe even a thin piece of paper or whatever, or not paper but cardboard. Well, anyway, I hope you find this to be helpful, and thanks for watching. God bless you all, and have a good day.